Today, we will talk about IOUs. An IOU, a phonetic acronym of the words IOU, is a document that acknowledges the existence of a debt. It is often viewed as an informal written agreement rather than a legally binding commitment. An IOU between two people conducting business may be followed up with a more formal written agreement. Typically, IOUs are produced on the spur of the moment, towards the end of a business meeting, for example, as a sort of memorandum of intent. They then are often followed up with a more formal written agreement or contract. There is no standard format or terminology for an IOU, however, details such as the date of the agreement, the amount of debt, the date for repayment, the parties involved, and the signature of the borrower are or should be included. An example of an IOU can be in a business transaction where one party issues an IOU promising to pay for goods within a certain time frame. This provides a short-term credit arrangement and helps maintain ongoing business relationships between the parties involved. A bookkeeper may record an outstanding debt as an IOU. The IOU is thus an accounts receivable item and is counted as an asset on the balance sheet. How exactly it is recorded depends on the time frame. IOUs have a lot in common with promissory notes. Both are written financial agreements that deal with debt, specifically, the promise of one party to repay another a certain sum, on or by a certain date. The key difference is that the promissory note is more formal and complete than the IOU. It not only gives a due date for the debt to be repaid, but it usually outlines other details of repayment, the interest rate of the loan, payment schedule, size of repayments, and often penalties for late or non-payments. An IOU is a written, but largely informal, acknowledgment that a debt exists between two parties, and the amount the borrower owes the lender. It is often signed by the borrower and indicates a date for repayment of the debt, but often omits other specifics, like the payment schedule or any interest charged. It can't be sold or transferred to another party and offers the lender little legal recourse if it is not honored by the borrower. An example of an IOU can be seen when an individual lends money to a friend or family member and wants written evidence of the loan. They can issue an IOU stipulating the amount borrowed, the date of repayment, and have the borrower sign the document as acknowledgment. IOUs can take many shapes and forms, but at a minimum, they should include the borrower's name, the lender's name, the amount of the debt, the current date, the date the debt is due, and the borrower's signature. Increasingly, there are IOU forms and templates that can be accessed online. An IOU is a legal document that can be introduced in a court of law, but whether or not it is binding is open to dispute. The more detailed the IOU, the more likely it is to be enforceable. The fewer specifics an IOU has, the harder it is for a court to determine the obligations and rights of the principals involved in the IOU. An IOU doesn't have to be notarized, but some legal authorities feel having a notary affix their seal to an IOU makes it more official, and thus more likely to be enforceable. Notarizing an IOU makes it closer to a promissory note, a more official document. In summary, an IOU is a written but relatively informal contract between two parties recording a debt and an agreement to repay it. It outlines the basics of the arrangement, but often little else, such as the terms or repayment schedule of the loan. They are often used for small sums and by businesses. Key takeaways: an IOU is a written acknowledgement of debt that one party owes another. IOUs are less formal and legally binding than promissory notes. Here are 5 key takeaways. 1. An IOU is a written acknowledgement of debt that one party owes another. 2. In business transactions, an IOU may be followed by a more formal written contract. 3. The informality of the IOU can make it difficult to enforce, and usually impossible to sell or trade. 4. The term IOU is also used in bookkeeping to refer to accounts receivable. 5. IOUs are less formal and legally binding than promissory notes. Hope this would help. Thanks for watching.